Shavua Tov, Gute Woch. Would like to tell the story of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, story number 27, the dream of the Melamed. A Melamed is a teacher, particularly a teacher for children. It says that in the community, in the holy community of Mezibush, there was a Melamed, there was a teacher who was not in best terms with the Baal Shem Tov. He was a great teacher and a great Talmid Chacham. They say he was a marvel of a learner. In all the ways in which he learned, he was a light. But he kept a distance from the Baal Shem Tov. He did not get involved with the Baal Shem Tov's teachings and the things of the Hasidim. The Baal Shem Tov wanted to bring him close to the avodah, to the service of Hashem. He saw in him that he was good and a marvel, and that he would be best for him to apply himself to the learnings of the innerness of Torah and learning Hasidus. And it was a marvel. It was a wonder by the Baal Shem Tov. He was wondering how would he be able to be mekarev this Jew to Hasidus, being that he was already in such a high level, but he refused to come close to the Baal Shem Tov and his teachings. The owner of the house in which this Melamed rented, when Jewish Melamed lived, also kept distance from the Baal Shem Tov and was very rough. Make sure that people will stay away. He was an early misnaged before they were misnagdim, I guess. Once, it was during the night of Shabbos that this Melamed went to sleep, and in his dream, he was walking around, taking a walk around the community of Mezibush, and looking at all places, and suddenly he sees a big palace that he had not seen before. It's only in his dream. He sees this palace, and he is marveled at how wonderful, beautiful, well-built this place is. As beautiful as it possibly could be. And he's looking at this marvel, and he says, this place is so wonderful. And he goes on describing the marvels of it. And he says, if the place is so wonderful in a physical aspect, how will it be in its spiritual aspect? So he looks through the window, and inside the palace, the Baal Shem Tov is in front of a table with people, and he's teaching the Torah. So he wants to come in, but the guard of the palace doesn't allow him to come in, keeps him away. So this Melamed in his dream comes to the window and tries to hear through the window how the Baal Shem Tov is teaching. And he hears Divrei Torah, he hears words of Torah that he had never heard before, and he's marveled at the brightness of the Baal Shem Tov teachings, and he himself being a Talmid Chacham, he can recognize how accurate and how incredible these teachings are. So when he wakes up, he tries to remember what the Baal Shem Tov was teaching. And he repeats it to himself 2-3 times. But it's past midnight, it's very late. He's waking up in the middle of his dream, so he goes back to sleep. Next morning, he remembers the dream, but he cannot remember those Divrei Torah. Remember, in Shabbos we don't write, so he tries to remember, and he's so frustrated he becomes puzzled and even sad that he can't remember the marvels that he dreamed. When he tells it to the balabais, to the owner of the house where he was renting, he tells him, if you had a bad dream, maybe you should do a nullification of your dream. There is something that's described in Shulchan Aruch when people gather in front of three Jews, there will be like a judge that will tell him your dream is good. And anyway, he didn't answer. He didn't want to mevatel. He didn't want to nullify the dream. He wanted to remember the divrei Torah of the dream. In the afternoon, this is in the morning by the Shabbos meal that this happens. In the afternoon, by the third meal of Shabbos, Bashel Shilas, so the Shlish is the Baal Shem Tov is gathered with his students, and he tells them, go to the house of this person and ask for the Melamed and tell him that the Baal Shem Tov wants him to come here. The students of the Baal Shem Tov were puzzled because this is not somebody who wants to come to the Baal Shem Tov. This is a man who stays away. But the Baal Shem Tov is asking, and so the Shliach, the man that the Baal Shem Tov appointed at, gets up and goes. And he says, the Baal Shem Tov is asking that you should come. In the moment the man hears that the Baal Shem Tov is calling him, as he's been the whole day trying to remember the words of the Baal Shem Tov in his dreams, he got up like a crazy man, did not put his coat on, he just rushed to the shul of the Baal Shem Tov, and he found that the Baal Shem Tov was there with his students, and he wants to hear what the Baal Shem Tov has to say. So the Baal Shem Tov tells the same words that he heard the night before in his dream, the same Davar Torah. As he hears it, he recognizes every word of it. And when he realizes this is what he's been trying to remember the whole day, and now he hears from the Baal Shem Tov, as in the dream, he faints. He faints. And when he wakes up, the Baal Shem Tov tells him in a almost joking way, had you heard this before, had it been the first time you hear this, you would be marveled. But you already heard it last night. In that moment, the man understood who the Baal Shem Tov is and became not only a Mekurav, a close to the Baal Shem Tov, he became a chosik, he became a faithful follower, recognizing the Baal Shem Tov is a complete tzaddik. And so is story number 27 of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov. This is already a story when the Baal Shem Tov is known and is becoming to be widely known as a tzaddik in his community in Mezebush. Shavua Tov, a gute Woche.